Quebec's southern border region, from the city of Montreal to rolling hills and international waterways lining the 45th parallel. One of Quebec's most recognized cultural exports to the United States and beyond.
We have now built over 3,900 instruments which are playing all over the world.
Border amnesty at the towns of Stansted, Quebec and Derby Line, Vermont.
It is the only U.S. library with no books and the only U.S. theater with no stage.
And exploring the night sky, high above the world's first dark sky reserve.
The experience of the night sky is the most grandiose experience we can live as human beings on Earth.
Now, we trace the secrets of the world's longest undefended border. More than 6,000 kilometers of rugged American frontier. Canada, over the edge. "70 kilometers northwest of the St. Lawrence River and the Canada-US divide, the Ottawa skyline lines the horizon. Ottawa is Canada's capital city, set at the confluence of the Rideau River and the Ottawa River, just opposite Gatineau, Quebec. These waterways served as First Nations trade routes for centuries, with the word Ottawa from the Algonquin language to trade. In 1826, the city was founded, a strategic hub in the aftermath of the War of 1812, and a period of tense North-South relations. Ottawa became known as Bytown, after Colonel John By. By was charged with constructing a canal from Ottawa to Kingston that would allow trade to flow from Montreal, avoiding American interference along the St. Lawrence River. In 1855, Bytown was renamed Ottawa. 2 years later, Queen Victoria named it Canada's capital city. Today, the capital region is home to many historic buildings, including the Prime Minister's residence on Sussex Drive and Canada's Parliament buildings, world famous for their modern Gothic Revival architecture. Construction began in 1859, and by 1866, they were complete, just in time for Canada's Confederation in 1867. But in 1916, fire struck, reducing most of Parliament Hill to ashes. Reconstruction took 11 years, finally completed with the unveiling of the Peace Tower in 1927. Today, the Ottawa region is home to more than 1.2 million people, boasting one of the top qualities of life in the world. Just northeast of the city, Quebec's Gatineau Park is an example of the region's natural beauty. Located just 4 kilometers from downtown, The park was established in 1938, a wedge-shaped parcel of protected wilderness measuring 361 square kilometers. Gatineau Park features hiking, biking, and canoeing on the park's many lakes. It also features historic Canadian residences, including the estate of former Prime Minister William Lyon Mackenzie King. And not far away, Wilson House is the Canadian government's conference center and the setting for the failed attempt at constitutional reform, the Meech Lake Accord of 1987. Heading east, we follow the contours of the Ottawa River. With Quebec on the left and Ontario on the right. It is a pristine waterway, measuring more than 1,200 kilometers, with a history dating back more than 10,000 years. During the last ice age, this region sank under the weight of massive glaciers. The glaciers eventually retreated, and the land was flooded by seawater. The St. Lawrence border region became known as the Champlain Sea. But in the years following, the land rose. Salt water was replaced by fresh water, and the Ottawa River was born. And 150 kilometers east of Ottawa, the Ottawa River widens as we meet the St. Lawrence River, and in the distance, the city of Montreal. 10 kilometers east of the Ottawa River's outflow into the St. Lawrence River, we approach Montreal. Montreal is Canada's second largest city. Its metropolitan area home to 3.8 million people. The city is built on an island in the heart of the St. Lawrence, measuring 500 square kilometers. It is the most populous island in Canada and the 37th most populous in the world. Montreal was one of the earliest settlements recorded by 17th century French explorers, originally known as Ville Marie, or City of Mary. Its present name comes from Mount Royal, the 233-meter hill overlooking the city. French is the mother tongue for the majority of residents, making Montreal the second largest primarily French-speaking city in the world. It is also considered one of North America's truly international cities, the site of the 1967 World Expo and the 1976 Summer Olympic Games. Montreal is also a cultural hub, known as one of the most vibrant art cities in North America. It is a legacy that can be seen in the cathedrals, theaters, and concert halls downtown and throughout the region. In the nearby city of St. Hyacinthe, we find one of Quebec's greatest cultural exports.
I am Jacqueline Rochette. I am Artistic Director at Casavant, which is located in Saint-Hyacinthe, Quebec.
St. Hyacinthe is located 50 kilometers from Montreal, an agriculture and industry town. But its most famous contribution to Quebec and the world may be its iconic pipe organs. Built under the name Casavant Frères, or Casavant Brothers.
Joseph Casavant, the father of the two brothers Samuel and Claver, began to build pipe organ back in 1840. When he retired, he passed his enterprise to his colleague brother, and then the two sons, Claver and Samuel, succeeded and began here in this location the Casavant Frères as we know now.
Inside the Casavant warehouse, Jacqueline Rochette and his team carry on a legacy that has seen nearly 4,000 organs built all over the world.
Working in a pipe organ building shop is something really unique in the world. Every instrument is different, it is unique, it is built to a specific need.
Each project begins as a consultation, designing an instrument appropriate for the space it will reside in. Then, construction begins.
Building a pipe organ is a long process. There is no part that will be the same from one instrument to another. All the pipes are a different scale depending on the acoustic. Once we have made and defined all parameters, we will build the instrument piece by piece.
On the shop's main floor, Stéphane Laflamme helps prepare thousands of pipes used to assemble Casavant's greatest creations.
On a un tailleur qui coupe le métal. Après ça, c'est distribué aux gars. Que nous, on prend des mandrins, on tourne. On a 52 étapes pour fabriquer le tuyau au complet. Puis là, je suis en train de souder les corps. On tourne le corps, on gratte le corps, on met de la chandelle. Ensuite, on prend de l'étain puis on soude le corps avec le pied. Ça, c'est un assemblage qui reste à faire.
And while Laflamme assembles new pipes, one floor above, Richard Marchand is Cassavant's voicer, shaping the pipe's sound.
We receive pipe from the plumbers or the pipe makers, and we take the pipes and we make them speak here at this voicing machine. We work on all kinds of pipes. Pipes can be as long as 32 foot tall or as short as 1 inch, and that goes with the pitch. The longer the pipes, the lower is the pitch, and the smaller the pipes, the higher is the pitch.
Using knives, rods, and other instruments, Marchand fine-tunes the pipes to perfection.
We have to cut in the pipes to give it the exact shape we want for make them speak well. We have a tuner that helps us to find the exact pitch we want with the pipes.
Once all the pipes are completed, Marchand works to create the overall sound for the instrument. Finally, the organ will be dismantled piece by piece and shipped to its new home, to be enjoyed for decades or centuries to come.
The pipe organ is a unique instrument that has been used to express various parts of human life. Being sad, being happy. It is a major instrument that is still today continuing and evolving.
Just 10 kilometers south of Montreal and the St. Lawrence River, busy cityscape is replaced by stunning landscape. Here, we experience a signature feature of Quebec's southern region, rolling hills lining the horizon. Far below, winding rivers, fertile farmland, and pristine communities make this region a scenic destination, on the ground or from the air. To the south, we reach the city of Chambly. It is home to 25,000 people, first recorded in the diaries of Samuel de Champlain in 1609. A French fort was built a century later, designed to protect Quebec, known as New France, from invading forces. And south of Chambly, one of the region's natural gems lies below. This is the Richelieu River. Once known as the Iroquois River, it flows 124 kilometers north into the St. Lawrence from Lake Champlain to the south. Now, 50 kilometers from Montreal, we reach the largest city lining these banks. This is Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu. It is a commerce and transportation hub, home to more than 90,000 people. Its history goes back centuries. Once considered the most important inland harbor in Quebec and Canada. In 1836, the Champlain and St. Lawrence Railroad was completed, connecting Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu to the St. Lawrence by rail. Then, less than a decade later, the Chambly Canal was completed. This created a navigable north-south marine transport route, linking Montreal with New York City and the open waters of the Atlantic. Further, we continue south, following the contours of the Richelieu River. This river has been the site of key battles for hundreds of years between the French and Iroquois nation, and later the French and English. And while the English established control in 1763, conflict would continue into the 1800s with the War of 1812. "20 kilometers south of Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, we see a legacy to those turbulent times. Fort Lennox was built by the French in 1759, then captured by the English a year later. Then during the American Revolution, American forces used the fort to stage attacks on Canada. In the early 19th century, the British used it during the War of 1812. Finally, during World War II, Fort Lennox served as a refugee center for displaced European Jews. Today, it is a National Historic Site of Canada. "10 kilometers south of Fort Lennox, we reach the 45th parallel and the international border communities of Noyon, Quebec, and Alberg, Vermont. It is a rare combined border facility, with Canadian and American customs officials sharing the same base of operations. East of the border communities of Noyon and Alberg, the Quebec-Vermont frontier extends 140 kilometers. It is an international boundary marked by agricultural lands, forests, and the waters of Lake Champlain. The lake measures more than 1,200 square kilometers, set almost entirely in America. And here, tiny tracts of land, even islands, are marked by a 6-meter cut line dividing the nations. Beyond the lake, the cut line continues. The Quebec-Vermont boundary is unique. It is located near, but not on the 45th parallel, and is steeped in legend and lore. The first surveyors, John Collins and Thomas Valentine, were tasked with marking the parallel between 1771 and 1774. But they were not entirely accurate, often more than a kilometer off target. Some say it was primitive tools, others the harsh landscape. Local legend says they were simply drunk on whiskey. After years of confusion, the Webster-Ashburton Treaty of 1842 elected to keep the surveyor's zigzag line. "65 kilometers east of Lake Champlain, we reach another international body of water. This is Lake Memphremagog. Three-quarters of this lake is located in Canada, while three-quarters of its watershed, some 1,270 square kilometers, lies in America. The lake holds drinking water for 200,000 people and is also said to hold a Loch Ness-type monster named Memphremagog. Beyond the lake, we reach two of the world's most unique frontier towns. Stansted, Quebec, and Derby Line, Vermont, have coexisted for centuries. They both lie above the 45th parallel and should be in Canada. But thanks to the surveying of Collins and Valentine, Stansted lies in Canada, while the village of Derby Line lies in America. Residents here cross the border for employment and all types of services. But there is one building directly on the line that citizens of both countries can enter freely.
My name is Lynn Limer. I'm the Haskell Opera House Theater Manager, and we are in beautiful downtown Derby Line, Vermont, and Stansted, Quebec.
The Haskell Free Library and Opera House straddles the international divide. The building is more than a century old, constructed and dedicated as a gift by a prominent member of the community.
Martha Stewart Haskell, who was married to Carlos, his family is responsible for bringing a lot of the industry to this area, and she's Canadian and he was American, and as a gift, she decided to gift the building to both communities. She did it on purpose because she wanted it to be a friendly gift for both communities. The interior of the building is all original, and the stained glass windows are all original. As an historic building, which we have been deemed, we keep that up so that everything stays exactly the way it was, including the colors inside. There's a children's reading room, there is a stack room, and there is a lovely adult reading room that we now have upgraded with computers and Wi-Fi so that folks can come in and utilize all those facilities as well.
But for visitors, the library's most notable feature is the dividing line running directly through the building, putting one half in Canada and the other in America.
The border actually runs directly through the building, and it is known as the only U.S. library with no books because the stack room is in Canada, and the only U.S. theater with no stage because the stage is also in Canada.
The theater is set on the building's 4th floor, the world's only truly international opera house.
So the Opera House is still original. When you go upstairs, the architecture over the box office is all original. When you go into the auditorium, the 109-year-old wooden seats that are still there feel like 109-year-old wooden seats when you sit down on them for an hour. Now we have cushions that we also sell for 50 cents so that you are comfortable watching a show. The inside also has a proscenium roll curtain painted by Erwin Lamass that is original. It is acoustically perfect, so no kind of amplification or microphones are needed in the building.
The Haskell Free Library and Opera House is recognized as an historic site by the governments of Canada, the United States, and the province of Quebec. But with the building's main entrance located solely in America, there are unique challenges.
Ever since 9/11, the ability to just walk back and forth without any problems across the border has changed, needless to say. So security has become very stringent. The Canadians can still park and walk on the sidewalk and come into the facility without using their passport. When we have a production going on inside, we are required to have at least 3 security people inside because we are an international building. The RCMP and the Border Patrol work in liaison with each other, and there's a very good relationship. But as I said before, we really have to be very strict about the comings and goings within this very unique facility.
Lynn Limer believes this frontier library and opera house is a cultural crossroads, one that is worth fighting for.
On the Canadian side, we have the Francophone community as well as the Anglophone community. And then on the Vermont side, obviously the English-speaking community. But this still harbors a wonderful relationship between the communities, and the cooperation and the collaborative efforts between the two communities to keep this building going, surviving. So we're hoping to stay here for another 110 years.
"40 kilometers north of Stansted, Quebec, and Derby Line, Vermont, we reach the city of Sherbrooke. This region was home to First Nations peoples for thousands of years, with European settlement beginning in 1793. Loyalist Gilbert Hyatt was the first to arrive, and the settlement became known as Hyatt's Mill. It would later be renamed in honor of John Coates Sherbrooke, a military commander in Atlantic Canada during the War of 1812. Today, Sherbrooke is home to more than 150,000 people, the 6th largest city in Quebec. Moving east, the rolling hills of southern Quebec dominate the landscape once again. This is Mont Mégantic, located at the heart of Mont Mégantic National Park. It is a unique protected area. On the ground, the flora and fauna is recognized by an ecological reserve. High above, an historic chapel adorns Mont Saint-Joseph. And in the distance, a unique scientific observatory sits atop Mont Mégantic.
My name is Sébastien Gigard. I'm the Education Director of the Mont Mégantic National Park and International Dark Sky Reserve. Mont Mégantic is located in southern Quebec, just near the border with Maine and New Hampshire, and so a few kilometers from there. And we are 250 kilometers south of Quebec and 250 kilometers east of Montreal.
The Mont Mégantic region is one of the most secluded in eastern North America, with no major communities for kilometers. In 2007, artificial light was banned at night, making it the world's first international dark sky reserve.
One of the unique features of the region here is that we are the first international dark sky reserve. What's a dark sky reserve? In fact, it's a place where you want to protect the experience of the starry night. These days, the artificial light at night is getting so bright and so wide everywhere in North America that places where we are still able to experience the original beauty of the night sky are getting quite rare. And here we fight to protect this experience so that people can live it and so that future generation can experience it too.
The Astrolab at Mont Mégantic is an incredible facility. From the Welcome Center at the base of the mountain all the way to the summit, the highest accessible point by road in the province of Quebec.
There's a lot of stuff going on in Mont Mégantic with astronomy, so one of these things is the Astrolab, which is the public astronomy activity center. We have a multimedia hall, we have astronomy exhibits, we have observatories atop on the rooftops, and so we organize astronomy evenings with the public. And so all this is at the base of the mountain here. Up the mountain, we have two observatories there, and also we have what we like to call the most powerful telescope on Canadian ground, which is the Mont Mégantic Observatory, which is doing research on a more scientific perspective.
The summit is more than a kilometer high, a remote setting for scientists studying the night sky.
And there is a control room where astronomers are sitting during the night looking at the data that is coming from the telescope. There is also an aluminizing room which is dedicated to maintain the telescope mirror and so on.
And on the second floor of the observatory, the Astrolab's real prize is its 24-ton telescope.
So we have to go upstairs and then we get into the telescope room and we see this huge beast which is dedicated to look at the stars. Well, the main characteristic of a telescope is always the diameter of its main lens or mirror. So in the case of the Mont Mégantic telescope, we have a 1.6 meter wide telescope. For doing research in Canada on the Canadian ground, this is quite a good size, and this is also a good size to do some experiments, to test some new techniques, some new instruments, and this is one part of what is going on here in Mont Mégantic Observatory. Well, of course, we think that science is important, but going beyond science, we really think that the experience of the night sky is truly one of the most grandiose experience we can live as human beings on Earth. And so that the fact that this experience is kind of disappearing, we find this a great threat, and we think that it's really important that we consider the night sky as a common heritage to preserve.
"25 kilometers northeast, the town of Lac-Mégantic is the closest major community to the astrolabe. It lies on the shores of the lake that shares its name, measuring just over 25 square kilometers. Sadly, it is best known for a recent train derailment and subsequent explosion that killed 47 people and left an entire town scarred forever. To the east, we reach Quebec's border with the American state of Maine. Here in the deep wilderness, the boundary is a maze, determined by the flow of rivers, north to the St. Lawrence or south to the Atlantic Ocean. From the incredible skylines of Ottawa and Montreal, to rolling hills and pristine rivers in the heart of French North America. To the protected parkland and soaring summits of Mont Mégantic National Park. The Quebec-US border region is an incredible journey from the earth to the sky. It is science and culture. A mix of megacities and centuries-old border communities. Preserving the past and finding new life. Here on the edge of Canada.